Hi, everyone. It's Maggie, and welcome to part one of my latest series on how to create or how I create my fabric books. So let's get started. You saw how I made the book base in my last video. The next step would be to pick out your images and theme. It doesn't always have to have a theme, but it helps. So I found these photos of these little girls, and I immediately thought of baby face. So I picked out these 5 images for the number of pages that I have. Now you could put an image on every page, or you could put an image on just one of each of the 2 pages. You can do it however you want. What I usually do is I'll put an image on the front cover, one image on the first 2 pages with a pocket page, then 2 images in the middle, and then 1 image on the last page for 5 images. Now, I have done some where I'll make each one a pocket page and then 1 image on the other side. But where I picked out the different images, the 5 images, I think I might just go with that. And the next step you want to do is pick your cover image, which I think I'm going to use this little girl here. Now, my printer ran out of color ink, so these are actually all, except for this one, made of paper. And that's okay. You can use paper images. What I sometimes do is I just put a coating of like Mod Podge or some kind of finish coating on it, especially if the paper's thin. But these all came, and these were all sent to me, during my image challenge a year or so ago. And so they're all made on, printed on sturdy paper. So I don't really think I need to do that. But it is an option for you to do. All right, let me put these aside. And so this is going to be the image for the cover. Now, the next step I do is I pick the trim I want to go around all the edges. So let me put that over here for now. And I already picked one, and it happens to be the same one that I used on the fabric book I just finished, but I'm going to do it differently. So the only thing that's going to look the same is this little fringy dangle here. I really loved how this looked on the front and back covers of the book, and I had enough to do one more book, so I figured I might as well use it now. So let me open up. I just open it up, and I usually start in the bottom corner, the right bottom corner, and I'm going to use Fabri-Tac. You could sew it if you wanted to, although my sewing machine is kind of temperamental, and where I made it a little thick and there's Fabri-Tac in between, it's a little on the stiff side on the edges, so I don't want to take any chances. So I'm going to use the Fabri-Tac, which I think is just as good as stitching it. Or you could even use hot glue. Hot glue, when you're using it, goes a lot faster. You could do this whole thing in 2 seconds. But unless you really work it into the fibers, eventually it probably you could probably just tear it up. So I'm going to use the Fabri-Tac. So let's get started with that, and we'll go all around the edging of the whole book. And even using the Fabri-Tac, it could still go. Okay, now it's not going to work, right? It's because I cleaned the top of it. So, okay. It can go, almost as fast. And you don't need a lot of the Fabri-Tac either, just like with the glue. With the hot glue, you just put a little thin line and it'll keep. All right. So I think I'm in frame here. Right. And I want to make sure that Fabri-Tac actually doesn't go through those. I want it to line up and not go through those holes, because then it's not even going to stick. Now, when I'm sure I'm done, I'm going to put another row for the inside, but until I put something over it to finish it off, I don't want to do that yet. And I almost just forgot a step. Luckily, I just thought of it. If you're going to use a closure, which you don't have to, but I'm going to. So I got some seam binding. I already cut 2 pieces. And you want to put that on before you layer your trim. So this should be a fun series, because I'm sure you're going to see a lot of what I call my bloopers in here. I forget sometimes to do something, or I do it wrong, or it's upside down, or whatever, but that's okay. That's all part of the fun, I think, anyway. All right, so let's just press that down. And then we'll just continue. I don't have a lot of room to work with my camera being on the stand so close to me, but that's okay. I'll work around it. So, okay. I'm just going to try to get to the end there. Okay. So that worked out pretty good. Now you want to just press it down really good until it dries. And excuse me, once it dries, it's not going anywhere. And on the other side, let's see if I can remember that I have to put the seam binding on the other end too. We'll see, won't we? Okay. I just love this. I'm sad to see it, the last of it, but you don't want to use the same on, multiple projects. I've used the same on, maybe 2 projects, but I try not to more than that, use it more than that. Okay, let's get the bottom there. I want to get that in there first. Get that down. So I'd love to know in comments if anybody has made the base yet, if they've never done it and they're going to make a fabric book along with me. I'll make sure to go, fairly slow, and you can always go back and watch each segment and just do a start and stop if you get behind. I won't do more than like one segment a day, but I do want to try to get them done because I know once some of you get started, you don't want to have to wait for days to get to the next step. So there is that. And I will make a playlist of all the segments when I'm done. Yeah, I picked out the little girls because I'm so used to using, the images of vintage ladies that I just wanted to work with those cute images of the little girls. I was thinking of calling this book Babyface, but then I like sugar and spice too. So you can also help me with that if you want to put in the comment what you think the title of the book should be. I don't title all my books, but a lot of them I do. Okay, that's not what I meant to do. Open it up. Just, you want to make sure you only have, the one page, or else you take the chance of the pages sticking together. And I just make sure the bottom is lined up with the end of the page. Okay, so we got that done. And I'm also going to try to keep these videos, and some might be a little longer than others, but I'm definitely going to try to keep them at or under 30 minutes. So I'll probably, once we get to, like putting the images on the inside page and embellishing the page, I'll probably bring it down to just doing one page at a time till then, and then if I can fit it in, I'll do the 2 pages when we get inside the book. But for today, we're just going to do the front cover, and I won't get to embellish it, but part 2 will be embellishing. I always do the front cover first. Now, you don't have to, but it's just to show you, how I do it. And for some reason, it helps me get started with the creativity by doing the front cover. It may not be like completely finished and embellished, but for the most part, it will be. So almost done here, and then it'll just be the bottom. Oh, look what how many of you have said, oh, she forgot to put the seam binding, and luckily the fabric tack takes a while to dry. See, I told you this series is going to be full of bloopers, but that's okay, because you know what? Things go wrong, things happen, and especially when you're just starting out. Now, if you follow this, you won't do this, but I think it's also good to show mistakes too. Everybody makes mistakes, and there's nothing that can't be fixed. Well, actually, a lot of crafters say there's no mistakes in crafting, and they're just other opportunities or something like that. And for the most part, that's true. I mean, you can fix anything. All you need, depending on what it is either your hot glue gun to take something off if you're using hot glue, or undo, which will take anything off. So yeah, I'm doing that right on the table, but that's okay. This table has seen much better days, and I don't use it to eat on, so so it's okay. All right, so now we're going to do the bottom. Let's put some around here. I think I'm going to be putting a little more acetate in this bottle of Fabri-Tac. Does anybody else do that when it seems to get a little too thick when you get closer to the bottom? It seems to start to kind of, not actually clog, but so Lorelle also told me you want to make sure you put some, not, I don't know what I just said, acetone, not acetate. I don't know why I always say acetate. That's a plastic covering or something, I think, but acetone. And okay, so who's counting my bloopers? How many I can do in one short video? But really, I mean, that's the fun of it, right? If I can show you how to do something and laugh at the same time, well, that makes me happy, as Patty would say. Makes me happy. And we're back to flipping the book. Okay, so that part is done. I'm just going to snip this part off. I want to leave some of that. Let's see if I can do this right. I don't know. No, that's not going to work. I have to snip that. Okay. Now let's just do the bottom here, and then that will be done. Okay. Now, I don't like this edge at all, so I want to put a trim on top of it to cover it and to, finish it so that it looks like it's finished. So I took a piece of this, another one of my finishing trims that I really like to work with, and that will see that it's going to cover those, the holes, and I think it'll just make it look better. All right, so this one I'm going to use hot glue, and that way there you get to see the different, ways you can use everything. And my glue gun's ready. So I'm going to go in kind of in between those holes, because you don't need a lot of the hot glue or the Fabri-Tac really. As long as you get it in those fibers, nothing's going to come off. Okay, we're at 21 minutes. So this will go quick, much quicker than using the Fabri-Tac. And I just think that looks much better. Now I keep wanting to grab the Fabri-Tac when I'm actually using the hot glue. And hoping I'm in frame each time, but if I'm not quite on the corners, I think you get the idea. And this is my favorite glue gun, and it's probably, I think it might be my third Sure Bonder with the detail tip, because one of them that I got, the glue just oozed out of the tip, and I knew it was defective, so I brought it back. So this is actually my third one. But my first one, and I've had this for a couple of years or more, and my first one actually is still going strong. I just gave it to my daughter-in-law's mother, who I got into making she's a quilter, but she wanted to make a fabric book with pictures of her grandchildren. And so I showed her how to do that, and I gave her the Sure Bonder, because that really detail nozzle makes such a difference. When I first started crafting, getting into the fabrics and that, I had just bought, one of those really inexpensive glue guns at Joann's, and the nozzle was like really wide, and it would just pour out of there. There was just way too much glue. And so somebody had told me about the Sure Bonder, and I thought, well, that's perfect, because I try not to have any glue showing, and it's not always possible because of, like, if you were doing something and you see the just the weave. So it's not always possible, but I try to make sure that none of my projects have any huge glue clumps. because that's not always a pretty sight. But like I said, it's not always possible either. Just depends on what you're gluing down. Like there's going to be, I mean, you can't see it, but because this is so open, I'm sure there's glue in between. But because of how thin the stream of it is, I don't think you're really going to see it. Hopefully you won't see it. And I hope too, if you do leave a comment, let me know, how I'm doing as far as showing you, if I'm leaving anything out. And obviously, if you have any questions at all, I'll see it in the comments. I read every single comment on my videos. I don't always get to reply, but I do read them. And if you have a question, I will answer it as soon as I possibly can. Especially if it holds up, something that you're making and you don't want to keep going until your question is answered. All right, and I'm just going to snip this off and glue that down. And then we're done with this part. All right, I have a few more minutes, so I'd like to at least, let's keep this open. It'll be easier to work with. I'd like to at least get the image on. So because this is an open weave and you can see the batting in between, I don't really mind that, but I'm going to put a doily on top. Now, if this was a piece of muslin or satin or, something that you can't see through, I may not put anything behind the image, but I am going to, and this just adds another layer. You don't have to do this, but I found this, and I am trying to use my doilies, some that I've had for a really long time. Okay, so I'm going to put this doily on, and I'm only going to, and I'm going to continue to use the hot glue for a while, because once your base is done, if your base is done with either the Fabri-Tac or, a good fabric glue or stitching, machine stitching, then, I mean, sometimes I'll just use hot glue on the rest of my book. It just depends. Some things I'll go back to the Fabri-Tac, but for this I'm going to, and for, showing you how purposes, I'm just going to use hot glue. So I only put glue in the middle for now, because I'm not sure what I'm going to do around here. So until I know and until I put stuff down, I don't glue in case I want to put something underneath to stick out for a better explanation. Okay, and here's the image. Okay, and I'm going to put some batting under it anyway, just to give it a little bit of, I just have to cut it up, just to give it a little more thickness. And make sure I have all the edges there. Okay, that's not there. Let's get that out of the way. And this will also get into the fibers in the paper, so don't worry about that either. If it was really thin paper, then I don't know if I would do that, but okay, and now we're just gonna glue the image on. Let's put that right there. Okay. So that's the start of the front cover. And I'm just going to put a quick, just to hold it down. And that's hot, so be careful. Okay, so that's, once it cools off, which only takes a minute. All right, so that's not going to go anywhere either. So, okay, that's all I'm going to do for today. Part 2 will do some embellishing around the image because I like to cover all the edges of the photos, whether it's fabric or paper. So thanks for watching, everyone, and thank you if you stuck to the end and you want to use this to try to make one of your own. I really appreciate it, and I hope you'll let me know if you're following along. And of course, when you're done, I'd love to see, what you created, whether you do videos or not. So thanks for watching, everyone, and I'll be back hopefully tomorrow with part 2. Bye for now.